All right, let's get right into it. We've all been through the school system, right? We all have strong feelings about it. But if you ever really stop to think, is this whole thing actually designed for us, for the world we're living in right now? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down.
Wow. Let that one sink in for a second. This quote just completely reframes the entire conversation, doesn't it? It suggests that the things we see as problems, well, maybe they aren't bugs. Maybe they're features. Just really, really outdated ones.
And this is the question that gets to the very heart of the matter. We spend, 12, 13 years of our lives in classrooms. But what's the end goal? Are we being prepared for an exam or for the messy, complicated, amazing thing we call life?
So, first up, let's talk about that disconnect. You know the feeling I'm talking about. That sense that what you spent years learning in a classroom doesn't quite match up with what you actually need out here in the real world.
Now, let's be super clear about something. Education is crucial. It's everything. But the model we use, the actual structure of our schools, that was built for a totally different time, with totally different goals. To really get what's going on today, we've got to look back at where it all started.
So, let's do a little digging. Let's look at the history, at the original blueprint for our schools. And remember, this isn't about blaming anyone, especially not teachers. It's about understanding the system we all inherited.
Okay, so check this out. It all kicks off in the 18th century with something called the Prussian model. The main goal there? Obedience and discipline. They wanted loyal soldiers and citizens. Then, boom, the Industrial Revolution hits. Suddenly, the economy needs tons of workers for factories. People who are on time, follow directions, and don't ask too many questions. So they took that Prussian model and scaled it way up in the 20th century for everyone. And now, here we are, in the 21st century, trying to use a system designed for a factory line to prepare kids for a world that's all about creativity, technology, and constant change. You can see the problem right there, can't you? It's a total mismatch.
So here's the kicker. The system isn't really broken. It's actually doing exactly what it was designed to do. These were the original goals: structure, rigidity, conformity, and obedience. It was built to standardize people, not to celebrate their unique talents. And when you look at it that way, it makes perfect sense why so many creative, independent people feel like a square peg in a round hole.
All right, so what happens when you try to run 21st century software on 19th century hardware? You get a crash. You get what we're calling the modern learning gap. This is what it looks like in the real world.
Just look at this comparison. On the left, you've got what school focuses on: memorizing stuff, fitting in, following the rules. And on the right, that's what life actually demands from us: the ability to think for ourselves, to come up with new ideas, to understand our own emotions and other people's, and to handle practical things like, money. It's not just a gap, it's a canyon.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head. I mean, think about your own life. How often have you really needed to use advanced calculus? Now, how often have you had to deal with a budget or navigate a tricky conversation with someone? The system values abstract knowledge way more than essential life skills.
And all of this has a real human cost. That crushing pressure from standardized tests, that feeling of being totally uninspired by what you're learning, and just plain old burnout, it's a huge problem. Students are feeling disconnected, alienated. It's no wonder so many kids just check out. We're running a system that can actually stamp out a person's natural curiosity.
Which, it brings up a bigger, more philosophical question. What is the point of all this, really? Is it just to cram our heads full of facts and figures? Or should education be about something more, something like nurturing wisdom? The ability to actually use what you know with good judgment and understanding.
Okay, I know. We've laid out a pretty big problem, and it can feel kind of heavy. But here's where things start to change. Here's the hopeful part. What if the classroom isn't the only game in town?
And the answer to that is 1,000% yes. The second you separate the idea of school from the idea of education, this whole new world just cracks wide open.
And look at all these options. These aren't just alternatives, they're direct answers to the problems we've been talking about. Think about self-directed learning. When you follow your own curiosity, you automatically learn how to think critically. Or something like experiential learning, traveling, starting a project. That stuff teaches you resilience and adaptability in a way no textbook ever could. These paths prove that learning isn't something that happens to you in a building. It's something you do for yourself. The power is yours.
So let's bring it all home. Let's zoom out and figure out the big takeaway here. After all of this, what's the real lesson we should all be learning?
You know, maybe we just need a new definition of learning. Maybe it's not about getting the right answers on a test. Maybe true learning is about preparing your mind for the art of living. It's about building your curiosity and your resilience so you can keep asking questions and figuring things out long after you've handed in your last assignment.
And that's what it all comes down to, really. The school system we have might be an old, outdated model, but our ability to learn, to grow, to educate ourselves, that is limitless. Education is not a place you go. It's a journey you choose to be on every single day.
So I'll just leave you with that question. Seeing the limits of the old system, that's step one. The next step, the really exciting one, is deciding what your own education, your own journey of learning is going to look like from here on out. So, what journey will you choose?